Comoros, a chain of islands carried by the Indian Ocean, shaped not by calm ages, but by fire rising from the sea floor. Here, the shorelines meet young volcanic earth, and the air holds a blend of salt spray, warm wind, and basalt dust. Its rhythms are quieter than they appear. These islands are not defined by size. They are defined by contrast. Comoros lives in this constant meeting point, between ocean and crater, between still forest ridges and restless winds, between species found nowhere else, and those that travel half the world to reach these shores. In this episode from BBTV Official, we enter that living crossroads, across coral flats, lava forests, and the high misted uplands to meet the birds that anchor these islands in place. Each glimpse, each sound, shows that in Comoros, life doesn't arrive in grand moments. It continues quietly, carried by wings. The brown booby, Sula leucogaster, hits the ocean with a clean, committed dive. Its scientific name means white-bellied, and that's exactly the first thing that flashes when it folds its wings and drops toward the water. Found between tropical islands, wave-cut cliffs, and open warm seas, this bird lives where salt spray hangs in the air. It uses narrow rock ledges for resting and nesting, places where the wind pushes straight in from the surf. Anyone watching it for a few minutes can tell it fits these coastlines perfectly. Males measure around 30 inches from bill to tail, with a wingspan close to 4.5 feet and a solid weight of 2 to 3 pounds. The upper body is dark brown, the underside clear white, and the legs broad-webbed. The build is practical and straightforward. The most striking feature is the plunge dive. A bird climbs 30 to 60 feet, tucks its wings, and falls almost straight down. There's a tiny correction just before impact, a single adjustment that sets the angle, and then it cuts into the surface and drives back up with strong wing beats. Schooling fish such as anchovies, sardines, and half-beaks make up most of its food. Flying fish and small squid appear in the menu when available. Morning and late afternoon are the busiest periods. Each descent ends with a sharp whoosh and a spray of water. Breeding occurs from late spring into early autumn on remote islands. The nest is simply a shallow scrape lined with dry plant bits or whatever debris is available. Clutches hold 1 to 2 eggs, incubated for about 40 days. Young birds often stay more than 3 months before flying confidently, and some nests are difficult to observe because the light from the sea edge washes out fine details. After several dives and a short flight back to the colony, the brown booby settles again into its familiar routine, a steady cycle. It continues in the shifting conditions of the tropical coast. A sharp call breaks over the open water as a sooty tern, Onychoprion fuscatus, circles above its colony. The scientific name means dark saw, referring to the pointed wings that slice through steady ocean wind with quick, firm strokes. Ranging from tropical oceans of the Atlantic, Indian, and Pacific basins, This species forms immense colonies on flat coral islands and exposed sandy ridges. It spends most months offshore, only returning to land for breeding. Warm gusts push across the bare ground where thousands of birds settle. Roughly the size of a small paperback book, it reaches a wingspan of 16 to 18 inches and weighs about 6 ounces. The upper parts are black, the underside white, with a clean cap and narrow bill. The body stays compact and efficient. It looks ready to move. What sets it apart is its long, uninterrupted time in flight. Some individuals remain airborne for months, covering large ocean distances with dynamic soaring. Wing beats stay even, and the bird shifts angles slightly to align with crosswinds and avoid losing height. Feeding consists primarily of small pelagic fish, squid, and drifting crustaceans. Activity increases at first light when baitfish rise. Birds skim low over the surface, snapping prey with quick clicks. A soft chick-ya spreads through groups feeding in tight formation. Between April and August, hares gather in extremely dense colonies that can blanket entire islets. Nests are simple scrapes on sand or coral rubble, and often hard to detect in harsh midday glare. A single egg is typical, incubated by both adults for about 27 days, with the chick guarded closely until it can move safely among the crowd. As the day advances and winds shift across the colony, the sooty tern continues its regular pattern of flying, feeding, and tending its single chick. A short, rasping call cuts through the shoreline noise as the western reef egret, Egretta gularis, moves across a wet patch of sand. Its scientific name refers to a little egret with a marked throat, a simple note that reflects its understated appearance and role along the coast. Found between the exposed rock flats of Grand Comoro and the shallow lagoon edges of Mayotte, the species stays close to tide pools, reef shelves, and narrow inlets. A light onshore wind pushes salt spray across the mud. The bird pauses when a wave pushes higher than expected, then resumes its steady walk. Males measure about 22 to 26 inches long, with wings approaching 3 feet across, and bodies weighing roughly 14 ounces. Its slim build is comparable to a small folding tripod. The legs look thin but stable. Plumage ranges from dark slate to plain white, though the silhouette stays the same. The most striking feature is its one-wing shading tactic. The egret lifts a single wing to cast a sharp pocket of shade and then strikes with fast, simple accuracy, sometimes reaching the target in under 0.2 seconds. It pins small fish against firm ground, shifts position, and repeats the sequence with little hesitation. Mullet fry, small crabs, sand gobies, and tiny squid form the core of its diet. Early morning and late low tide expose feeding lanes. Each jab produces a quick splish as the bird reacts to movement in the thinning water. Breeding occurs from August to November, with nests placed on low mangrove branches or limestone ledges. Each clutch carries 2 to 3 eggs, incubated for about 22 days. Adults approach quietly, and harsh midday light often makes the nest difficult to see on camera. With the tide climbing again, the western reef egret steps back from the rocks, adjusts its stance, and continues its measured search along the shallows. A pale shape lifts from the reeds as a gust sweeps across the shallow water. The Malagasy pond heron, Ardiola ide, reacts with a small adjustment, keeping balance over the shifting surface. Its scientific name traces to idea, a figure associated with calm streams, matching a bird shaped by slow, quiet wetlands. Found between Madagascar, Aldabra, and the Comoros during the breeding months, this heron favors marsh edges, flooded rice plots, and narrow channels where mud holds the tracks of morning visitors. Wind often pushes small ripples against the stems, exposing brief flashes of fish or insects along the margins. Males measure about 18 to 20 inches in length and weigh just under 1 pound, similar to a compact grocery loaf. The outline stays plain when perched. It looks lightweight. Wing edges remain narrow. The most striking feature appears in breeding condition, when the head and back turn bright white, while the remaining plumage stays buff-brown. The change is quick. Displaying males raise fresh plumes and step forward in short bursts, sometimes repeating 6 to 8 movements to signal occupancy of a small feeding patch. Small fish, crustaceans, tadpoles, and aquatic insects form the core of the diet. At low tide, it waits motionless until a sharp tisk marks a lunge. Early morning often provides steadier water and easier strikes. Breeding occurs from October to February. Loose stick nests rest above water or low in mangroves. A typical clutch contains 3 to 4 eggs, with incubation lasting about 22 days. Fledging can take up to a month. In strong overhead light, nests are difficult to locate through dense cover. As water levels shift and prey scatters, the heron adapts to new pockets of feeding habitat, then returns to the reeds where its steady routine begins again. Darkness. The shift happens quickly as the light drains from the treetops. The bat hawk, Machaeramphus alcinus, enters its prime hunting window, and its scientific name links to the powerful falcon, a reference to its strong aerial control during fading light. Found between the Comoros, coastal East Africa, and scattered woodland corridors, it selects clear approach lanes near bat roosts. Warm air rising off the ground creates uneven lift along the edges of riverine trees. One blunt detail stands out. Wind pushes dust sideways here. Males measure around 12 to 14 ounces and stretch to nearly 30 inches in wingspan, about the size of a medium household hen. The body stays slim. Wings taper cleanly. The most striking feature is its dusk-timed hunting burst. In the first 3-4 minutes after bats emerge, it accelerates sharply, closes distance with minimal flaps, and performs tight turns within roughly 200 feet of canopy. It often strikes with a straight head posture, maintaining forward focus while adjusting only the wings. Prey includes small fruit bats, swifts, large moths, and beetles. At dusk, it hovers just above an exit point. A quick woof follows as a bat breaks formation. Low light helps its narrow silhouette merge with the tree line. Between September and January, hares construct stick nests high in open-crowned trees. A typical clutch holds 1 to 2 eggs, incubated for about 33 days. Fledging requires another 5 weeks. From the ground, nests are difficult to confirm when angled light washes out the branches. As roosts shrink under disturbance and tree loss increases, this hawk continues its dusk patrols and prepares for shifts in bat colonies, signaling the need for stable hunting corridors. Stillness. A single shape shifts against the canopy as the cuckoo roller, Leptosomus discolor, breaks the quiet line of trees. Its scientific name means two-colored one, a nod to the contrast between males and females that field biologists notice immediately. Found between Madagascar, the Comoros, and nearby Indian Ocean islands, this species inhabits warm forest edges and mid-elevation woodlands. Light moves unevenly through the leaves, and a small crosswind often pushes insects toward the bird's preferred perches. It stays patient, adjusting only when branches sway. Males measure about 11.8 to 13.4 inches long, carrying a compact, lightweight shape comparable to a small hand tool. The green-washed wings stand out against a pale belly. The head looks broad and firm. One simple detail here. The most striking feature is its rolling flight. The bird tilts, steadies, then rolls again while scanning the understory. It covers 30-40 yards in one pass and snaps its bill with no wasted motion. A small pause between sweeps feels natural, as if it is recalculating drift and distance. Nothing dramatic, just efficient. Beetles, stick insects, grasshoppers, and the occasional tiny chameleon form its regular diet, especially during early morning when heat begins to rise. A soft tick-tick comes from the bill before each short lunge. Calm air helps it track movement with cleaner accuracy. Breeding occurs from September to January, with pairs choosing natural tree cavities for nesting. Clutches usually contain 3 to 4 eggs, incubated for roughly 18 to 20 days. Fledging takes around 3 weeks. Cavities sit deep enough that harsh light makes filming difficult, especially when glare hits the bark at midday. As evening settles over the forest, the cuckoo roller lifts from its perch and continues its steady routine, a pattern that returns to these trees each year. Dark, but not quite, because the crested drongo, Coros forficatus, carries far more than a black silhouette. Its scientific name means fork-tailed scissor, a direct reference to the sharply divided tail that shapes its profile against shifting forest light. Ranging from Madagascar into the Comoros archipelago, this species occupies lowland woodland, coastal forest, and secondary growth near villages. Warm pockets of air rise along tree trunks, and a slight onshore breeze pushes flying insects into open patches the bird regularly monitors. A perched individual holds steady, even when nearby branches shake. Roughly the size of a medium kitchen spoon, the drongo reaches about 10-11 inches in length, with a lightweight frame and narrow wings. The crest forms a simple forward tilt. The long forked tail is plain and unmistakable. One short sentence here. What sets it apart is its defensive aggression. The bird rushes intruders with quick, direct strikes, often surging 20-30 feet in a single burst. It pivots mid-air, tilts, then drives forward again. Other species retreat quickly, giving the drongo brief control of the clearing. The shifts happen fast, but never appear careless. Feeding consists primarily of beetles, moths, small lizards, and flying ants during late afternoon warmth. A sharp tick-tick cuts through the understory before it drops from a perch to intercept prey. Calm wind makes these dives cleaner, though it adjusts easily when air stirs. Between October and January, pairs establish nests on high, open branches. The cup structure holds 2-3 eggs, incubated for roughly 2 weeks. Young birds fledge after about 20 days. The nest often sits in a glare-heavy position, which makes filming difficult when strong light breaks through gaps. As evening arrives, the crested drongo steadies its tail against a narrow perch and prepares for another season of defending small pockets of forest, a reminder that protection continues its place here. No flaring crest, no bold markings, only the steady shape of the Malagasy bulbul, Hypsipete madagascariensis, a species whose scientific name translates to high-flying black bird, though its plumage often looks softer in shifting forest light. Restricted to Madagascar, the Comoros, and nearby Indian Ocean islands, this bird lives in coastal woodland, village edges, and low to mid-elevation forest. Light moves unevenly through leaves, and small gusts carry fruit scents down slope. Individuals adjust their stance when branches sway, keeping balance with minimal effort. At 8.5 to 9.5 inches long, the bird carries a compact body roughly the size of a TV remote. The dark head contrasts with a pale belly, while the wings remain plain and functional. Its bill, slightly curved, shows a clean outline. One short sentence here. Here's what makes it extraordinary: its restless patrol flights. The bird slips between branches, stops abruptly, then resumes with tight wingbeats. It often covers 15 to 20 yards before pausing to scan. This behavior repeats throughout the day, especially when fruiting trees pull other species into the same patch. Prey includes berries, figs, soft-bodied insects, and occasional small caterpillars taken during early morning warmth. A brief chick escapes before it hops to a new perch. When wind drops, it tracks insects more easily, though fruit remains its primary focus in most seasons. Nesting begins in October, with pairs constructing small, cup-shaped structures of twigs and grass. Clutches usually contain 2 to 3 eggs, incubated for about 2 weeks. Fledging takes another 12 to 15 days. Many nests sit low in tangled branches, making them easier to miss when sunlight hits from the wrong angle. As late afternoon colors fade, the Malagasy bulbul settles on a mid-level perch and continues its quiet movements, a pattern that prepares for the next round of fruiting cycles. Shadows shift, then hold still for a moment longer than expected. Because the Vasa parrot, Koros vasa, has a habit of pausing mid-movement. Its scientific name means crow-like cutter, referring to its long, functional bill rather than any dramatic coloration. This species inhabits Madagascar and the Comoros, frequenting dry forest, mixed woodland, and semi-open scrub where scattered trees provide loose cover. Heat lifts slowly from the ground in mid-morning, and a dry crosswind often rattles seed pods above its perch. The bird reacts only when a branch trembles too sharply. Small for a parrot, it measures around 19 inches long, yet carries a slim, lightweight structure compared to bulkier relatives. The plumage is muted and evenly toned, built for practicality rather than display. The head looks narrow. One short sentence here. Few birds can match its unusual skin shift behavior. During breeding months, the facial skin of adults can darken noticeably, and some individuals even shed feathers on the head. It moves with small, deliberate steps along branches, testing twigs before placing weight. The bird also glides short distances, usually 20 to 25 feet, when moving between feeding spots. Approximately 70% of its diet comes from fruit, with the rest made up of seeds, young shoots, and the occasional large insect taken during early morning calm. A soft carp precedes short hops across branches. Stable air helps it judge distances cleanly. During the wet season, pairs gather nesting materials for loose, shallow cavities inside old tree hollows. Clutches hold 2-3 eggs, incubated for about 3 weeks. Fledging can extend beyond 30 days. Many nest entrances face awkward angles, making filming difficult when light bounces sharply off nearby bark. As the dry wind settles across the canopy, the Vasa parrot lifts its head toward a quiet patch of forest, leaving a small question about where it heads next. Its movements continue with a touch of mystery. Shadows shift, then hold still for a moment longer than expected. Because the Vasa parrot, Koros vasa, has a habit of pausing mid-movement. Its scientific name means crow-like cutter, referring to its long, functional bill rather than any dramatic coloration. This species inhabits Madagascar and the Comoros, frequenting dry forest, mixed woodland, and semi-open scrub where scattered trees provide loose cover. Heat lifts slowly from the ground in mid-morning, and a dry crosswind often rattles seed pods above its perch. The bird reacts only when a branch trembles too sharply. Small for a parrot, it measures around 19 inches long, yet carries a slim, lightweight structure compared to bulkier relatives. The plumage is muted and evenly toned, built for practicality rather than display. The head looks narrow. One short sentence here. Few birds can match its unusual skin shift behavior. During breeding months, the facial skin of adults can darken noticeably, and some individuals even shed feathers on the head. It moves with small, deliberate steps along branches, testing twigs before placing weight. The bird also glides short distances, usually 20 to 25 feet, when moving between feeding spots. Approximately 70% of its diet comes from fruit, with the rest made up of seeds, young shoots, and the occasional large insect taken during early morning calm. Stable air helps it judge distances cleanly. During the wet season, pairs gather nesting materials for loose, shallow cavities inside old tree hollows. Clutches hold 2-3 eggs, incubated for about 3 weeks. Fledging can extend beyond 30 days. Many nest entrances face awkward angles, making filming difficult when light bounces sharply off nearby bark. As the dry wind settles across the canopy, the Vasa parrot lifts its head toward a quiet patch of forest, leaving a small question about where it heads next. Its movements continue with a touch of mystery. Silence. Then a shape breaks across the canopy, steady and direct. This is the Comoro cuckoo-shrike, Seblepyrus cucullatus, a high forest hunter whose name carries the meaning hooded, taken from the Latin cucullatus. The label fits its dark-capped appearance, even if the moment arrives abruptly. Found between the higher ridges of Grand Comoro and the older forest blocks on Moheli, the species stays close to mature crowns where insects gather in drifting light. Wind pushes through the upper branches from the east, giving brief gaps that reveal its movement. Males measure about 9 inches with a compact body and firm shoulders. The gray plumage contrasts with a darker hood and pale underparts. Wing coverts show limited patterning. It weighs roughly 1.9 ounces. The bird is about the size of a standard household remote. Wings are broad enough for slow, certain glides. Quite simple. The most striking feature is its scanning flight. The bird moves tree to tree in short 20-30 foot hops, pausing at each perch before striking forward to seize prey mid-air. It performs this jump and grab sequence several dozen times during a productive hour. Movements remain controlled rather than flashy, with clear commitment in each launch. Beetles, small caterpillars, leafhoppers, and occasional spiders taken during early morning passes. At low tide, it sometimes enters coastal edge woodland, where insects concentrate near damp bark. Wings give a muted thpeep as it lands. Prey choice shifts slightly after rainfall. Breeding occurs from September to December. Nests sit high, often 40 feet up, built as shallow cups on forked limbs. Clutches contain 2 to 3 eggs, incubated for about 14 to 16 days. Fledging follows roughly 3 weeks later. The nest is difficult to see in harsh backlight. In the late afternoon, its outline settles briefly before moving again. The routine feels steady, almost continuous. The Comoro cuckoo-shrike continues its work among the upper branches. A brief shuffle of leaves breaks the steady rhythm of the understory, revealing the Comoro parrot, Koros sibilans. Its scientific name means whistling cutter, a reference to both its sharp bill and the thin, piercing calls that carry through mid-elevation forest. Endemic to the Comoros, this species occupies humid woodland, mixed scrub, and forest edges where filtered light passes across irregular branches. Moist air rises from the ground after light rain, and a soft crosswind sometimes shakes seed pods above its perch. The bird shifts only when movement becomes too strong to ignore, keeping close to sturdy mid-level branches. Weighing approximately 9 to 11 ounces, this parrot holds a slim build compared to heavier island species. The plumage stays uniformly dark, the head rounded, and the bill long and clean. One short sentence here. Its signature behavior involves slow, deliberate climbing. The bird tests bark with its bill, braces one foot, then pulls upward in controlled steps. Distances vary, but it often moves 15 to 20 feet before stopping to reassess. When startled, it performs a low, direct flight to another tree, showing little interest in high, sweeping arcs. It targets fruit, young shoots, large insects, and occasional nectar sources during early morning cool. Still air helps it gauge movements cleanly, though it adapts quickly when branches sway. Reproduction takes place in the early wet season, with pairs selecting natural cavities in older trunks. Clutches usually hold 2-3 eggs, incubated for roughly 3 weeks. Young birds fledge after about 30 to 32 days. Some cavities face awkward angles, making clear filming difficult when sunlight strikes uneven bark. As the last light settles across the Comorian canopy, the Comoro parrot tilts its head toward a darkening patch of forest and continues its quiet route, leaving the scene with the faint suggestion of where it might move next. A faint snap of wings breaks the canopy's quiet line, revealing the Comoro blue vanga, Cyanolanius comorensis. Its scientific name means blue forest dweller, a direct reference to its color and preference for dense island woodland rather than open coastal scrub. Confined to the islands of the Comoros, it occupies humid mid-elevation forest where filtered light flashes against wet leaves. A slight upslope breeze moves across the ridges, loosening insects from mossy trunks. The bird shifts position when branches sway too sharply, choosing stable perches tucked beneath thicker cover. At 7 to 7.5 inches from bill to tail, this species holds a compact shape comparable to a small travel flashlight. The head shows a clean curve, and the wings carry a uniform blue tone. The posture is upright. One short sentence here. Its signature behavior involves short, deliberate lunges along trunks. The bird angles its body, freezes for a beat, then presses forward with quick accuracy. It often travels 10 to 20 feet before pausing again, adjusting slightly when wind pushes against the bark. These movements appear measured rather than rushed. It targets beetles, spiders, caterpillars, and small fruit clusters during early morning cool. Calm air helps it detect movement beneath loose bark, though shifting light occasionally forces it to halt until shadows settle. During the wet season, pairs choose small tree forks for open cup nests built from root fibers and thin twigs. Clutches usually hold 2 to 3 eggs, incubated for roughly 2 weeks. Fledging takes another 14 to 16 days. Many nests sit behind uneven foliage, making filming difficult when bright patches of light break through. As late light filters between the branches, the Comoro blue vanga steadies its grip on a narrow perch and continues its quiet foraging, a rhythm that turns the forest toward another slow transition of day to night. A brief flutter, then silence again, because the Moheli bulbul, Hypsipete moheliensis, moves with caution inside dense foliage. Its scientific name means black high flyer, a reference to the dark head and the species' preference for mid-canopy routes rather than open flight. Distributed across the island of Moheli in the Comoros, it occupies humid mid- and high-elevation forest where filtered light passes through uneven layers of moss and fern. A faint upslope breeze carries moisture along the ridges, and the bird often shifts position when branches shake under persistent wind. It keeps a low profile near tangled vines. Measuring around 8 to 9 inches long, this bulbul holds a compact shape comparable to a standard TV remote. The dark cap contrasts with its paler body, and the tail remains straight and functional. The bill is clean and slightly curved. One short sentence here. Most remarkable is its constant mid-canopy pacing. The bird hops, freezes, then advances again with quick, efficient motions. It often covers 10 to 15 yards before stopping to reassess. When foraging pressure increases from nearby species, its movements become tighter and more controlled, never rushed, but never idle. Diet comprises berries, figs, small insects, and occasional soft-bodied larvae collected during early morning cool. A clipped chup signals a brief repositioning. Calm air makes tracking insects easier, though fruiting trees dominate its feeding routine through most of the year. Pairs construct shallow cup nests from fine fibers and rootlets, placing them a few meters above ground. Clutches usually contain 2 eggs, incubated for about 2 weeks. Fledging takes roughly 14 to 16 days. Many nests sit behind dense understory scrub, which complicates filming when light angles shift unpredictably. As cloud cover thickens across the Moheli Hills, the Moheli bulbul steadies itself on a damp branch and continues its measured movements, a rhythm that prepares for the next turn of the island's seasonal cycle. Stillness breaks with a quick downward flick of wings. The Humblot's flycatcher, Humblotia flavirostris, its scientific name meaning yellow-billed, steps into view for only a moment. The bird holds its position with a blunt confidence that fits this forest specialist. Ranging from the montane forests of Grand Comoro's central spine to older, shaded gullies above 2,000 feet, the species remains tied to cool, closed canopies. Light filters in narrow shafts across mossed trunks. A mild upslope wind often pushes insects into these spaces, and the bird stays close to that movement. Roughly the size of a small smartphone, the bird reaches about 6 inches in length. Plumage is mostly gray-brown, broken by a clear yellow bill and dark eye. It weighs near 0.9 ounces. The wings look plain but functional. Short legs add a grounded posture. A simple silhouette stands out. What sets it apart is its tight, hovering strike. The bird lifts a foot or two from a perch, holds steady for a second, then snaps forward to pin an insect with surprising precision. It repeats this hover and lunge pattern dozens of times through an active morning. Movements are brief, direct, and rarely wasted. Feeding consists primarily of small moths, midges, spiders, and soft-bodied larvae that cluster near shaded bark. Activity peaks just after dawn. A quick tisk accompanies abrupt landings. After rain, it works lower branches where droplets pull insects into view, adjusting angles without much fuss. Between October and January, pairs reinforce territory and search for forked branches in dense mid-canopy. Nests are compact cups made of fibers and moss. Clutches carry 2 to 3 eggs, incubated for roughly 2 weeks. Fledging follows after about 17 to 20 days. Often hidden behind deep foliage, nests remain difficult to document cleanly. Late in the day, it shifts to a higher perch, scanning quietly over its narrow range. Habitat pressure remains real here, even if the bird shows no sign of hesitation. The Humblot's flycatcher prepares for another precise sweep through the canopy. Humidity clings to the leaves. A faint musk rises from damp bark, and a soft scrape cuts through the dark. This is the Mayotte scops owl, Otis mayotensis, its scientific name meaning from Mayotte. The bird stays motionless for a second before shifting its talons. Restricted to the island's mid-elevation forests between 650 and 2,000 feet, the owl keeps close to tangled understory near basalt outcrops. Light from nearby villages barely reaches these thickets. A slow breeze carries insect noise upslope, and the bird listens from low, sturdy perches. Males measure roughly 7 inches, with compact bodies and fine barring across the chest. Ear tufts sit short but visible. The yellow eyes are steady. About the size of a large lemon, it shows a neat outline. Coloration remains practical and muted. Most remarkable is its stand and strike method. The owl holds a perch for long intervals, tracking faint rustles below. Then it drops vertically, covering 10-15 feet, in a controlled fall before pinning prey with quick accuracy. These descents repeat several dozen times across a productive night, showing firm discipline rather than haste. Prey includes crickets, large moths, geckos, and small rodents active after dusk. Hunting movements remain quiet, except for a soft witch-peff during downward sweeps. After rain, it shifts to open leaf litter, where insects rise toward warmer air pockets. Foraging lines stay short and deliberate. During the wet season, pairs search for cavities in old trees or natural rock splits. Nesting begins in November. Females lay 2 to 3 eggs, incubating them for about 26 to 28 days. Young owls fledge near 5 weeks. Observers note that nest entrances are often obscured by uneven lianas, complicating clear footage. Near midnight, the owl settles briefly on a branch, head turning toward the slope, as insect calls regroup. The pause is real and unhurried. The Mayotte scops owl waits for the next movement in the dark. No calls, no wing beats, only a brief shuffle inside the foliage before color breaks out from the leaves. The Grand Comoro Fudia consobrina, its scientific name meaning related or kindred, holds steady on a low branch, showing the first trace of movement. This species inhabits humid forest edges, mixed plantations, and older secondary growth across Grand Comoro. Light slips through uneven canopies, leaving bright patches on volcanic soil. A short gust from the west pushes loose seeds across the ground, drawing the bird closer. At 5 inches from bill to tail, the bird is compact and lightweight. Males turn red across the head during breeding, while females stay brown with finer patterning. It weighs around 0.7 ounces, roughly the size of a folded wallet. Plumage remains plain outside the breeding peak. Simple features stand out. Territorial males shift rapidly between perches, delivering short chases that cover 15 to 20 feet in bursts. They repeat these displays dozens of times each morning. The movements are clipped and direct, with brief pauses before another darting line through the shrubs. It holds ground with determined consistency. It also takes beetles, small caterpillars, and nectar when flowers open after rain. A quick tick-tick marks its repositioning. Feeding height changes with insect activity, especially on warmer days when prey rises toward mid-canopy. Reproduction takes place from September through February. Males weave oval grass nests suspended from forked twigs, usually 6 to 10 feet above ground. Females lay 2 to 3 eggs, incubating for around 12 to 14 days. Fledging follows at roughly 2 weeks. Nests are often partly hidden, making steady filming tricky during shifting light. As afternoon dims, the bird drops to a final perch and checks the ground for movement before settling deeper into the vegetation. Its routine resets with quiet assurance. Across Comoros' volcanic slopes, cloud forests, and reef-lined shores, each bird we've seen points to the same truth. Nature holds on when it's given room to breathe. Boobies cutting low over the surf, bodies glowing red in coastal thickets, blue vangas moving through dim forest light, and the rarest voices, like the Comoros scops owl and the Humblot's flycatcher, still fighting for space on these young islands. Comoros shows that survival is possible, but only when people choose to guard the land and the life bound to it. Thank you for exploring these islands with BBTV Official. If these moments spoke to you, help keep the journey going. Subscribe, turn on the bell, and share the bird that stayed with you. Until next time, may every sound in the canopy remind you that the wild endures when we choose to protect it.